Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Fellow Roughriders, welcome guests. When I was a sophomore in college studying theater, I took on a directing project. It was a play by Edward Albee called The Zoo Story. It's a two-character play. Some of you may have seen it, may know about it. I cast two young men. We practiced, and on opening day, it was an afternoon performance. The curtain went up. The two young men were out there, one sitting on a bench, the other came on, made his entrance, stammered for a moment, headed for the exit, jumped in his car, and drove to St. Louis. It was a 125-mile case of stage fright. How many of you feel, well, I don't even have to ask, we all feel it, don't we? There is an apprehension when you know you're going to give a speech. It can turn into a cold dread. It can paralyze. And where does it come from? What are we so afraid of anyhow? Well, in the 20 years that I've been coaching speakers, I've come to a little insight. I think that stage fright initiated back in evolutionary times. When we first climbed out of the trees onto the savannas of Africa, what were we? Fresh meat. Compared to the rest of the animal kingdom, we didn't have the teeth and claws, we didn't have the speed, the strength, the hairy hide, the bad attitude. It's a wonder we lasted 10 minutes. The only thing we had going for us was each other. And we were able to communicate to each other enough to obey the law of the jungle. And the law of the jungle says there's safety in numbers. Now, according to the law of the jungle, the most vulnerable person is the person who becomes separate from the group, who is standing alone and apart. Well, what's the situation when you decide to make a speech? You have to separate yourself from the audience. Stand alone and apart. That vulnerability, I believe, is an echo of the earliest fear. And that was a valid fear. But it's not valid any longer. Still, it's anchored in our oldest brain, our medulla oblongata. Everybody with a medulla has this problem, whether they admit it or not. Even the ones who claim, I'm never affected by stage fright. Their behavior betrays them. You can see it. They get up and their eyes are sweeping the room looking for lions, saber-toothed tigers. Their feet become, jittery. This was the case in many of my students in the business world. Their palms are sweating. You can see that. There's an impulse to bring your hands up in front of your abdomen to protect your tasty liver. So these behaviors, which are created by that sense of vulnerability that we all feel, have a deleterious effect on your ability to make a point with your audience. So what to do? Will it ever go away? I doubt it. Old speakers, Eleanor Roosevelt, Laurence Olivier, into his 70s, was throwing up in the john before a performance. It's just in us. So step one is to learn to accept it. I call it the penalty of leadership. You have to get used to it. You have to get to a point where you understand that's just part of the game. The penalty of leadership will play. So I feel you need two things to get past it. You need a skill and you need a strategy. The skill I recommend is true eye contact. Now, by true eye contact, I do not mean that, and it's a disappointment to me that in our Toastmasters manuals, we never really go into the specifics of eye contact. What exactly is eye contact? It doesn't say. Most people get up in front of an audience and think, oh yeah, eye contact. Yes, that's where I show the audience my eyes. True eye contact and the true strategy that will lead you past stage fright is fixing your listeners one at a time. Find a pair of eyes in your audience and deliver a full thought. Find another one, deliver a full thought to that pair of eyes, and so on around the room. Now, what are the advantages of this? First of all, it slows you down. It will get you into focus, as Tina so wisely advised. Get into focus with your listeners. The other advantages are it will take the attention off yourself and onto your listener. When you're speaking directly to a pair of eyes, you're reading them. You're looking for nod. You're looking for facial expressions. You're looking for that glimmer of understanding that happens in a human eye. And that's when you know you have reached them. You have made contact. And connection is step one to persuasion.